Will, I got to do something cool on Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know if have you ever gotten to tour a distillery or ever spent any time around them? I don't know if you're a big bourbon or whiskey guy. It wouldn't surprise me if you are. I've kind of worked my way into being a pretty big fan of both, and I got to go to the distillery in Frankfurt for Buffalo Trace, and they make a lot of they make Weller. You're a Texan. Weller has been a big product down in the state of Texas for a long time. Pappy Van Winkle, like all these different really cool different flavors, and it was just an awesome experience to get to go tour the place.
I saw that. I saw you posted about touring the Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Yes.
I am not to disappoint you here. Yes, I'm a big bourbon whiskey fan, but I'll give you my power rankings really quickly, Clay.
Yeah.
At number 3, Irish whiskey. I do like something about the dry bite of a Jameson when I don't want to taste too much sweetness. But at number 2, I will give you bourbon. I like bourbon. And Buffalo Trace, and this is not gratuitous because I'm not getting paid, I think it's a really good bang for your buck bourbon, Buffalo Trace. But at number 1, and I don't know if this makes me fancy pants or Texan, I think it's probably a little bit of both, but at number 1 is tequila. It has risen to number 1 for me just in the past, I would say, 18 months.
Really? Yeah.
I know it's the George Clooney thing, and I think The Rock has a tequila, and everybody has a tequila. Here's what I found, man. Very little hangover, nice happy buzz, tastes great if you buy top shelf. Always buy top shelf. I don't care how snooty that is. If you get yourself a good tequila, it's like drinking dessert.
It is. I mean, I like a little bit of everything, right? So let's be honest. But it is kind of amazing the cycle of what becomes popular, right? Because I was talking about this with the bourbon guys. Bourbon has gotten white hot. Tequila has gotten white hot. Vodka, which I would say was probably your standard, maybe most reliable, maybe liquor back in the day, right? Like that liquor seems to, with vodka, have declined. Meanwhile, bourbon, and they were saying, it's interesting because some people trace the rise of bourbon and whiskey to Mad Men. And he's like, we were talking to the guide as we walked around and looked. He's like, I don't know how much you can attribute to, just kind of cultural standards changing. And certainly with like the 1960s era tight suits, that came roaring back because of Mad Men, the skinny ties, all that stuff. But it is kind of interesting cyclically to think about what cycles up and doesn't. For instance, you're a Texan. What do you attribute tequila rising on your liquor power rankings having to do with? Is it the quality of tequila is getting better and like as you get older, you're like, I don't want to necessarily have a hangover from something? Like, what would you attribute it to?
Okay, I love this conversation. So first, I would just attribute it to a sophisticated palate, of course, man. I know what I'm doing, and I like it. No, but I'm serious. If I drink a glass of Clase Azul, which is that fancy one in the white and blue ceramic bottle, if I drink a glass of one of those, and I'm not a wine guy. Like, I can't sniff the notes and taste the layers on wine. I don't get that. But I can do that with that tequila. I can taste all the different flavors in there. But let's go to marketing for a minute. So I read this article. I'm somewhat entrepreneurial, not on your level. We know your level of entrepreneurship. Everyone should know at this point. Clay's level of entrepreneurship. But, I love marketing. I love building businesses. So I read this article. I'm going to go 10 years ago to your vodka point. And it was talking about how Red Bull became one of the biggest drinks in the world. And the article was awesome. It said, here you have a 6-ounce drink that is terrible for you and objectively tastes bad. And yet it's a massive market driver. So why? And the answer is all marketing. The guy that created Red Bull made this marketing phenomenon. Gives you wings, you need the energy. And it said in this article, other drinks built upon marketing. And it said Grey Goose vodka. Grey Goose vodka is not better than your normal well vodka. And I thought, that's fascinating. And I told my brother-in-law, who really liked vodka, to your point, about 10 years ago.
Yep.
And he listened to me. He listened to me explain this, and then he ordered a Grey Goose martini. So in other words, the marketing's so strong that I can explain it, and it doesn't matter. Tequila has moved from Jose Cuervo at 2 a.m., let's make sure we walk out of this bar stumbling, to something now that in my 40s, I want to just drink. I don't want to mess it up with any kind of mixer. I just, at most, ice, and it's nice. No hangover, and I can enjoy it. But I can't deny the power of marketing is probably playing some role in there.
Do you know, I got to give credit because I don't know if you know Bob Pittman. I know him just a little bit. but he has, if you like tequila, he has a tequila called, and I might Casa Dragones, right? Like basically dragons with an NES.
I've had that.
It's phenomenal, right? I mean, it's really good stuff. And I'm kind of like you. I mean, I'm not pretending to have like some incredibly refined palate, and certainly I've been to a lot of wine tastings over the years. Like I bet pretty much every husband or boyfriend has at some point. You've been out at a winery, and I think it's fun. But like the sophisticated palate, like I don't have the difference, to be able to define every single thing. But I do think
Clay,
you can tell what goes down easy and what doesn't.
Yes, and I'll say this just to show that I'm not proclaiming the sophisticated palate. I'm no snooty beer drinker either. I don't like IPAs. I don't want a ton of flavor in my beer. I like Miller Lite. I like what it amounts to. I like ice cold water essentially when it comes to beer.
Yes. That is pretty fantastic. I can tell a little bit with beer. I'm not as great with wine, but I do think the difference on the liquor is what goes down smooth and what doesn't, right? And so I'm kind of fascinated by that. And anyway, I spent a couple of days this week kind of diving in, and I feel like I have a little bit more knowledge than I did before, which is pretty cool. We're talking to Will Cain, by the way, at Will Cain on Twitter. You can follow him on there. You can listen to his new podcast, which is pretty outstanding. Also, weekends 6 to 10 a.m. with Fox and Friends. And also, this is pretty awesome, you're going to be hosting 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe, next week, your own show, big-time deal, being able to sit behind the wheel, so to speak, and run it. That's going to be awesome.
Man, I'm excited about it. Yeah, I'll be hosting the 7 p.m. Fox News primetime show next week. I'm just going to have to say, let her rip. I'm just going to have to do my thing. Like you, I've done a 3-hour radio show every day. This is my chance to sort of spread my wings, do what it is I like to do. And I think we'll probably work in Clay Travis at some point during the week.
I'm going to try. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to come on as one of your guests. I'm sure you're going to do a fantastic job, and that's an awesome next step for you to be able to host. I mean, would it be millions of people watching as that hour is wildly popular, leading into Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, and Laura Ingraham. I mean, just a really big-time collection of talent, and that's awesome for you. So you can check Will out there. All right, speaking of awesome for you, are you excited, apprehensive, are you terrified of the Cowboys, Dak Prescott returning and going head-to-head with Tom Brady, the opening Thursday night game of the NFL season?
Excited. Take the points. Cowboys plus 6.5. I like it. I really do, Clay, and I know I'm a homer, and I know I just went through the schedule, and I go 16-1.
Right.
16-1. Yeah. They'll lose to the Chiefs. And I'm not stealing Greenberg's bit. I know that I'm really over-optimistic on this schedule. But, yeah, I'm excited to play Tom Brady. I'm excited to play the Bucs, and I do think you should take the points. I think Dak's going to come back roaring strong. He's going to be incredible this year. I don't think any team in the league has surrounded their quarterback with more weapons, and I think the Cowboys are going to score a ton of points. The only question for the Dallas Cowboys is, can they stop anyone on any given drive?
Did you see Brady? I mean, I'm kind of fascinated by this. The Bucs GM came out and said, hey, I think Tom Brady can play till he's 50. He's going to be 44. And we already know that he's basically broken the the age dynamic at the quarterback position in the NFL. Even if he only played one more year, there's never been anybody like Brady. How many more years is Tom Brady a starting quarterback in the NFL right now if I had to set an over-under with you? So we obviously know he's going to play this year.
Well, first, if I'm making predictions, I used to say this when I was on ESPN. Everyone else can leave the party whenever they want. I'm going to hit the lights. So I'm not going to accept that Tom Brady is leaving before anyone else. So Max Kellerman, of course, made his bones on this cliff theory. And here's the thing about Max and his cliff theory. He based that like some accountant on an actuarial table. Like he went and he looked at Warren Moon's career and Brett Favre's career and Rich Gannon's career, anybody that played late in the life, and he realized, well, about 40, 41, no one plays great beyond that.
That's right.
And I used to argue to Max, at some level that makes sense if you're an insurance adjuster. But you are talking about one of the greatest athletes, in my estimation, the greatest team sports competitor, and I mean that. I mean that above other names that other people are getting mad about right now in their head, like MJ. I think Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. And I said, you're doing that, you're applying like averages to someone who is way beyond average. So if you tell me, can Tom play till he's 50? Why not? He's already, to finish off Max's metaphor, he's already flown over the cliff. He's sprouted wings. Who's going to predict where he lands at this point? He's flying. I wouldn't know, man. Over under 3 to 4 more years. I mean,
it's wild, right?
I think that's a fair 3 to 4 is a fair over under.
It's wild because for so many years I've sat around and been like, well, I better enjoy this Tom Brady game because we might not see it again, right? Brady versus Rodgers, Brady versus Manning. And if those games end up not happening anymore, and we just saw the most recent Brady Breeze in the postseason, but if those games don't happen anymore, it's not ever been because Brady decides to hang it up. And I just feel like this guy has got – I don't think that's a crazy number. I mean, look, anybody can get injured. We obviously have seen what happens to guys like Alex Smith. Sometimes a devastating injury can happen. Brady lost a season to a knee injury back in the day. But I just feel like his performance down the stretch against the Bucs, even without a lot of time to work with his team because of COVID, this coming season – I feel like he's going to be off the charts with all the time that he's had to work and with the fact that all 22 starters return.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He had to work himself into that team and those weapons in a shortened COVID training season. What's it like with a full year of training behind him? You would have to just assume better. And by the way, on these predictions about how long he can go, we have to acknowledge the game is moving in his direction, meaning quarterbacks, as we know, get less. The rules favor offensive players, so it's not as hard for him as it was early in his career to complete a pass. Not just how many times he's getting touched, but how many times his receivers are getting touched. So the game is moving in his direction where it's essentially more of a non-contact game. So a 47-year-old could survive.
Yeah, and we don't know exactly how long Brady's going to continue to roll, but we do know, look, when you look at these rookies, we know that Trevor Lawrence is going to start, and one of the guys that may be starting alongside of him is Tim Tebow. How intrigued are you by the idea of Tim Tebow, 33-year-old tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, individually, probably not as intrigued as everyone else. I'm intrigued more than some other, third, fourth string tight end that they signed. Is it enough to make me go, wow, I'm paying attention to the Jags training camp? No. But if he makes the team, yes, I'm much more interested in the Jags. Of course, Clay, I'm intrigued by the ridiculous overreaction to the Jags giving Tim Tebow a shot. That is
Yes. Why do you think that everything about Tim Tebow, except probably Tim Tebow himself, has been on steroids since he was a freshman at Florida, right? And I've seen this since he was 18 years old, the mania that he creates and has dealt with all the way through. In fact, we get used to seeing athletes and we get used to seeing celebrities in what we do. I have never seen anything like when Tim Tebow was on Radio Row, right? Beyonce, Madonna, they all come through Radio Row at some point in time. But you feel as if there is true electricity in the air relatively rarely. Tebow being on Radio Row the year after, I believe it was, that he won the postseason game with the Broncos against the Steelers, hit Demaryius Thomas on that crossing route in overtime to win that game. I've never seen anything like it. The same thing had happened, by the way, at SEC Media Days when Tebow was in the building, when everybody was losing their minds. And look, you're used to Nick Sabans of the world, Cam Newton, Joe Burrow. There's lots of big names, Johnny Manziel. I've never seen a reaction, a frenzy like Tebow produces in the world of sports.
Yeah, and there's a couple of reasons. And the first two reasons create lovers and create haters. So for whatever reason, wearing your religion on your sleeve creates haters, but it also creates lovers. I have nephews that grew up in Odessa, Texas. My sons weren't born yet really to root for Tim Tebow, and they loved Tim because he was honest and open about his Christianity. Yep. It's odd. I don't totally get it, but that's clearly one of the motivating factors behind why people hate him. It just is. And I can't really explain it. The other, number two, is this sort of wholesome image, independent of Christianity. People don't like wholesome. They like bad boys. The Cowboys draft, we were talking about Cowboys schedule, but the Cowboys draft, they took a ton of character concerns. And I tweeted about that. Wow, the Jason Garrett days of, Jason Garrett used to use the phrase, right kind of guy. Those days are over. And I had a ton of people go who cares? We were good in the 90s when we had bad guys. And what are you? We're not trying to put together choir guys. But those same people, they'll be destroying the Cowboys for drafting these guys if they get suspended, right?
Of course, yes.
So I don't really know, but there's an attraction to the bad boy and not the good guy that Tim Tebow is from a lot of fans. And then I think his pro career, you talk about after the Broncos win, that's against all odds, against the doubters story, and that's going to make people love and hate you as well. He wasn't supposed to be this good. Everybody's been dogging him. And then finally it's race. And I don't look, the reaction the last 2 days has been 100% about race. His career and his reputation over his life has been about his religion, but the last 2 days, that's been about race. And that's just the bottom line, Clay, is this. On the people that are mad at Tim Tebow for getting an opportunity because he's white are racist. They just don't see the world through anything but a lens of skin color. That's just how they do it. And at this point, we're going to have to start accepting that's who they are. They are racists, and we need to start calling them out for what they are, racists.